In the dim light of a kitchen table, a man turns over a simple copper coin between his fingers. It's dull from decades of circulation, scratches, fingerprints, a life well-traveled. But as the light hits it just right, he notices something unusual. No tiny letter beneath the date. No D for Denver, no S for San Francisco. Just a clean, unmarked surface beside the proud face of Abraham Lincoln. He thinks little of it at first. After all, it's just a 1-cent coin. 1 cent, barely worth the flick of a wrist. But that small omission, that missing mint mark, is the kind of subtle whisper that can turn an ordinary coin into a legend worth nearly $1 million. And it all begins with 1 year, 1968. To understand the mystery of the 1968 no mint mark, Lincoln 1-cent coin, we need to travel back to an era when America's coinage was in flux, an age of transition and quiet chaos. The 1960s were a turbulent time for the U.S. Mint. The price of silver had risen, threatening the nation's coin supply. The government scrambled to produce new materials, new alloys, and to streamline minting operations. Millions of coins flooded out of facilities in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But with each mint came its own small signatures, the mint marks that today define value, rarity, and legacy. Yet in 1968, something peculiar happened. Philadelphia, for the first time in over 3 decades, began to use a mint mark again, an elegant little P on certain coins. Meanwhile, San Francisco, once a proud producer of circulation coins, was slowly being reassigned to proof coinage, striking coins not for pocket change, but for collectors and investors. And Denver, known for volume and consistency, pressed out billions of standard Lincoln cents with the D mark. So why in this great industrial choreography do we find just a handful of 1968 Lincoln 1-cent coins that bear no mint mark at all? Here's where things become fascinating. Some believe these mysterious coins originated from the San Francisco Mint, where proof dies were used in error for circulation coins. Others claim they were struck in Philadelphia during a brief transitional confusion in die preparation. And there's an even rarer theory whispered among advanced collectors that certain early die tests, meant for calibration, escaped into circulation before official production began. Whatever the truth, one fact remains: genuine 1968 Lincoln 1-cent coins with no mint mark are among the most elusive modern errors ever discovered. But rarity alone doesn't make them legendary. What makes this story extraordinary is the value, nearly $945,000 for one confirmed example, verified and graded in immaculate condition. That's not hype or hearsay. It's a reflection of what happens when scarcity meets obsession, when one collector's dream collides with another's determination to own a piece of American monetary folklore. Pause for a moment and think about that. A coin worth $1 million. Yet invisible to almost everyone who's ever held one. How many of these coins have slipped through fingers, spent at corner stores, lost in couch cushions, sealed away in old coffee tins? How many times did someone unknowingly trade a life-changing treasure for a stick of gum or a newspaper? The thought alone sends chills down the spine of any true numismatist. The story of the 1968 no mint mark Lincoln 1-cent coin isn't just about metal and mintage. It's about the human fascination with discovery, the primal thrill of uncovering something hidden in plain sight. Every coin collector, whether a seasoned investor or a curious hobbyist, lives for that spark. The idea that one ordinary coin could rewrite their financial destiny, and it's not so far-fetched as it sounds. In the world of rare coins, tiny differences, barely visible to the naked eye, can mean the difference between a cent and a fortune. The position of a letter, a doubled image on Lincoln's cheek, a missing mint mark. These micro-anomalies are the fingerprints of history, each one a testament to human imperfection and mechanical chance. That's what drives the hunt. Let's dive deeper into why this particular coin holds such power in the numismatic market. You see, 1968 wasn't just a random year. It marked the rebirth of mint marks after their removal during the coin shortage of the early 1960s. From 1965 through 1967, the U.S. Mint deliberately excluded mint marks to discourage coin hoarding. When mint marks returned in 1968, collectors rejoiced, but the transition wasn't seamless. In the confusion, dies were moved between facilities, repurposed, and reused. A few coins escaped this complex system without the identifying mint mark, making them not simply rare, but historical anomalies, a snapshot of the mint's own evolution. And when a coin represents a moment of human error within a system designed for precision, it becomes more than metal. It becomes myth. But here's a twist that few realize. Even among experts, the legitimacy of some 1968 no-mint mark coins remains debated. Many counterfeits exist, meticulously altered to appear genuine. Unscrupulous individuals sometimes polish away mint marks, hoping to trick buyers. But the trained eye can see the difference. The microscopic ridges, the flow lines, the way copper tones shift under magnification. This is where experience separates the collector from the investor, the dreamer from the detective. To those who know, the real prize lies not only in ownership, but in recognition. Finding a true no-mint mark, 1968. Lincoln 1-cent coin and having it authenticated is like discovering a new species in your own backyard. It's validation, it's history, and it's proof that even in an age of algorithms and digital wealth, the tangible power of discovery still reigns supreme. Collectors who chase coins like these often describe it as a form of meditation, a patient, meticulous journey through time. Each coin tells a story of who we were as a nation, the wars we fought, the presidents we honored, the economic battles waged in silence. And perhaps that's why coins like the 1968 no-mint mark Lincoln cent resonate so deeply. They remind us that history is fragile, that mistakes can become masterpieces, and that true value often hides in plain sight. There's also a psychological pull at work. Numismatists know that rarity drives desire, but what truly keeps them searching is the unknown, the possibility, the belief that they, and only they, might be the one to find the next million-dollar piece. It's the same instinct that led fortune seekers to pan for gold or explorers to cross oceans, that eternal hope for discovery, for legacy. Because a rare coin isn't just an investment, it's an inheritance of wonder. Let's talk about market value for a moment. Over the past 2 decades, the coin market has shifted dramatically. While precious metal values fluctuate with global economies, numismatic coins, true rarities with stories, have held and even increased in value. Collectors today aren't just buying metal. They're buying narrative, symbolism, and exclusivity. The 1968 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent coin sits at the crossroads of all three. It's a symbol of error turned excellence, a mistake made sacred by time. Its scarcity has drawn intense competition at auctions, where emotions often run higher than reason. One bidding war can elevate a coin's value overnight, not because of intrinsic worth, but because of collective desire. And that's the secret truth of numismatics. Markets rise and fall, but desire, pure human fascination, never loses value. So what does this mean for the average collector, sitting at home with a jar of old coins? It means possibility. That within that jar, that drawer, that inherited box from your grandfather's attic, there could be something extraordinary. A simple 1968 Lincoln cent that doesn't quite look like the others. A missing mark, a different luster, a coin that holds a whisper of history. Imagine being the one who finds it, the moment when a magnifying glass reveals that the coin you've held for years, worth 1 cent all this time, could change your life? Forever. That's not fantasy. It's happened before. It will happen again. And here's a small secret. Most discoveries like these don't come from elite collections or high-end dealers. They come from ordinary people who looked twice at something the world ignored. The numismatic universe rewards curiosity. It favors patience. And above all, it celebrates the ones who never stop wondering, what if? Because every time someone picks up a coin and turns it toward the light, a story continues. A story that began in 1909 with the first Abraham Lincoln cent, and still unfolds today in whispers of copper and zinc. The 1968 no-mint mark. Lincoln 1-cent coin is not just a piece of currency. It's a reminder that legacy often hides in imperfection, and that wealth, real wealth, begins not with greed, but with awareness. So before you spend that next coin, pause. Look closer. Ask questions. You might just be holding history in your hand. In a world obsessed with the digital, where fortunes exist as numbers on screens, there's something profoundly grounding about a coin. It carries the weight of hands, the scent of time, the stories of millions. And sometimes in that weight lies the key to both wealth and wonder. The man at the kitchen table sets the coin down. The light catches it once more. No mint mark. Just the quiet gaze of Lincoln staring through the years. He smiles, realizing what he's found isn't just a coin. It's proof that even in the smallest places, greatness hides. And as long as coins still change hands, as long as eyes still search and hearts still hope, the next million-dollar discovery could be waiting in your pocket, your palm, or the shadows of your own forgotten change jar. Because in the world of American coinage, even a penny can make history. For decades, one particular coin has haunted the dreams of American numismatists, the 1969 D Mint mark Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin. A humble piece of metal weighing just 3.11 grams forged in the Denver Mint during the height of the space age, yet carrying whispers of million-dollar secrets. Why would a coin so ordinary, something millions of Americans once tossed into vending machines, command nearly $1 million in today's market? And more importantly, could one still be hiding in your pocket change, unseen and unappreciated for over half a century? Let's travel back to where this mystery began. It's 1969. America is in motion. Neil Armstrong is preparing to set foot on the moon. The dollar is still strong, and in Denver presses thunder through the night, striking billions of Lincoln 1-cent coins, each stamped with a bold D to signify its origin. But somewhere in that chaotic process, an anomaly was born. A mistake so subtle that even trained eyes could miss it at first glance. You see, in the late 1960s, the U.S. Mint faced challenges balancing efficiency and precision. Coin dies, those hardened steel tools that imprint designs, were hand-engraved and occasionally doubled. When a die was accidentally struck twice, slightly out of alignment, it produced what numismatists call a doubled die. The result? Every coin struck by that flawed die bears ghost-like shadows, duplicate impressions of letters and numbers, like a faint echo of the engraving process. And one particular doubled die from the Denver Mint, bearing the image of Abraham Lincoln and the date 1969, became the stuff of legend. At first glance, the coin seems ordinary until you tilt it under the light. Then the truth reveals itself. The inscriptions, "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," appear doubled, crisp yet haunting, as if history itself stuttered for a millisecond. The date, too, especially the 9, seems to tremble, frozen between two realities. But here's the twist. Experts later confirmed that the genuine doubled die 1969, Lincoln 1-cent, wasn't struck in Denver at all. It came from Philadelphia. That means any coin showing a D mint mark and strong doubling is most likely a counterfeit. And yet the rumor refuses to die. Stories circulate through coin shows, online forums, and dusty attics, claims that a handful of authentic Denver pieces slipped through. Some collectors swear by them, calling them the ghost coins of American numismatics. Why does this myth persist? Because every few years a discovery rekindles the fire. A new coin surfaces, graded, appraised, and valued at astronomical figures. In 2019, a verified 1969 doubled die, minted in San Francisco, sold for over $500,000. And when market estimates hit $939,000 for certain variations, the line between legend and possibility began to blur. Here's where it gets interesting. The market for rare Lincoln 1-cent coins has exploded, not just from inflation or collector demand, but from psychology. The emotional pull of a 1-cent coin worth hundreds of thousands taps into something primal, the dream of finding value where others see none. It's the same impulse that drives treasure hunters, investors, and legacy builders. The 1969 D myth isn't just about copper and doubling, it's about hope. The belief that fortune could be hiding in a coffee can, a forgotten drawer, or the loose change from a morning coffee. Coin collecting, after all, is not only an art, it's an emotional pursuit, a connection to the past that can rewrite the future. Now imagine this. You're at a local flea market. A dealer has a small tray of old coins, each priced at a few dollars. You pick one up, a slightly worn 1969 Lincoln cent with a D mint mark. You notice the bold relief of Lincoln's face, the subtle shine of aging copper. Something about the lettering catches your eye. Could it be doubling? Your heart skips, your palms sweat. You tilt it under the sunlight, then again beneath your phone flashlight. At that moment, you realize what all great collectors know. Discovery is as much about instinct as it is about knowledge. The thrill of maybe, just maybe, holding something history forgot to tell you about. But you can't rely on excitement alone. That's where research, verification, and expertise come in. Every serious coin collector should understand this principle. The story behind a coin is often worth more than the coin itself. The 1969 D myth has persisted because it captures imagination, blending fact and folklore. Yes, the genuine double die from 1969 exists, but from the San Francisco Mint, marked with an S, not a D. Yet counterfeiters, especially in the 1970s and 1980s, produced deceptive Denver versions so convincing that even trained eyes hesitated. The U.S. Secret Service once investigated multiple fakes circulating in California coin shops. Some were struck using genuine mint equipment stolen or sold as scrap. Others were clever alterations of common coins modified with heat and micro tools. The government even issued warnings to collectors, reminding them that not all that glitters in copper is gold. Still, stories of a single authentic Denver doubled die persist. Some claim a mint employee struck a few coins during testing, pocketed them, and vanished into obscurity. Others believe it was a transfer error from a master die that briefly affected both the Philadelphia and Denver series before correction. Whether these tales are truth or myth, one thing is undeniable. The mystery itself has value. Collectors often underestimate the power of mythology in numismatics. A coin's worth is not just measured by grade or rarity, it's shaped by its story, its controversy, its emotional resonance. The 1969 D. Lincoln 1-cent coin represents more than a minting error. It's a mirror of the American spirit, flawed, fascinating, resilient, and full of surprises. It reminds us that wealth can emerge from the overlooked and forgotten. That something as small as a copper coin can carry the weight of history, economy, and human curiosity. And this brings us to a sobering truth. Many people once owned these coins without realizing their value. Some were spent on bus rides, gum, or newspapers decades ago. A few might still be sitting in inherited jars of old change, waiting for someone curious enough to look closer. Here's a rhetorical question for you. When was the last time you really looked, at the coins you handle every day? Most of us don't. We swipe cards, tap phones, and forget that tangible money ever meant something more. But to the collector, each coin is a piece of time frozen in metal, a tangible record of human effort and error. And that's what makes this field so endlessly fascinating. In the world of rare coins, fortunes change overnight. A discovery, a reappraisal, or even a viral auction can transform a humble artifact into a six-figure masterpiece. The 1969 S double die Lincoln cent proved that beyond question. So when you hear that the 1969 D variant might be worth up to $939,000, the question isn't only is it real, but what if it could be? Because belief drives the hunt, and the hunt, in turn, drives value. Behind every great collection lies an emotional truth. Collectors are not just chasing metal, they're chasing meaning. They want to hold something that transcends time, to possess an object that will outlive them and tell a story to the next generation. Coins do that effortlessly. They speak without words. That's why some of America's most respected investors diversify into rare coins, not only for profit, but for preservation. When markets fluctuate and digital currencies fade in and out of fashion, Tangible history becomes the ultimate hedge, and while only a handful of 1969 Lincoln 1-cent coins have reached legendary valuations, the lesson they offer applies to every collector. Knowledge creates opportunity. Those who study, who research mint records, who recognize minute doubling under magnification, they're the ones who find what others miss. So what should you look for? If you ever come across a 1969 Lincoln 1-cent coin, examine the inscriptions carefully under magnification. True doubled dies show strong, crisp duplication, not fuzzy shadows. Focus on liberty, in God we trust, and the date itself. The doubling should appear as raised, distinct lines, not as wear or reflection. Next, check the mint mark. The genuine high-value varieties bear an S for San Francisco, not a D. The D variations, though fascinating, remain subjects of debate and investigation. Still, even speculative coins can gain collector value if demand grows around the story, and make no mistake, the story will continue to evolve. Every generation of collectors rediscovers old myths, questions assumptions, and sometimes proves the impossible. What was once dismissed as a hoax can one day become authenticated fact. That's the beauty of numismatics. It's part science, part history, and part faith. Picture this closing image. An aging collector sits at a wooden desk under the soft hum of a lamp. Before him lies a simple coin tray. In the tray, a single copper coin glows faintly in the light. He spent a lifetime searching, not just for wealth, but for connection. To hold in his hand a piece of 20th century America, he doesn't yet know if it's worth thousands or nothing at all. But at that moment, it doesn't matter. Because what he holds isn't just a coin, it's a story, a mystery, a dream that continues to inspire generation after generation. And maybe, just maybe, the next story begins with you. So the next time you find an Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin from 1969, don't dismiss it. Don't rush to spend it or tuck it away unnoticed. Examine it. Question it. Let it remind you that history hides in plain sight, waiting for someone bold enough to look closer, because one day someone will uncover the truth behind the 1969 D mint mark mystery. And when that day comes, a simple coin might once again rewrite the definition of fortune. Every so often, a coin emerges from obscurity to challenge what collectors thought they knew, to rewrite the balance between metal and meaning. The 1971 no mint mark Lincoln 1-cent coin is one of those mysterious outliers. Born in a year of economic change and political tension, this humble copper cent hides a story far deeper than its size suggests. Before we unmask its secret, picture this. A man in Pennsylvania, clearing out his late father's workshop, opens a rusted coffee tin. Inside, hundreds of old coins spill across the table. Among them, a 1971 Lincoln cent without a mint mark. He almost throws it into a Coinstar machine, but something, perhaps instinct, perhaps fate, makes him look again. Within weeks, that same coin would be appraised and whispered about across collector forums. Not for its age, not for its condition, but for its absence, a missing mint mark that shouldn't have existed at all. To understand the 1971 Lincoln 1-cent, we need to revisit a transformative period in American minting history. The U.S. Mint was shifting from traditional die engraving to new automated systems, a process fraught with inconsistencies. The Philadelphia Mint, unlike Denver or San Francisco, didn't place mint marks on its coins that year. Yet a few rare pieces, believed to have been struck with experimental dies or transitional blanks, display characteristics unlike any others. Sharper relief on Lincoln's portrait, deeper strike pressure, and metallic composition anomalies detected under advanced XRF testing. Some even whisper that these coins were part of an internal quality test at the Philadelphia Mint, never meant to leave the facility. But as with all great collecting mysteries, the truth is buried beneath layers of rumor, documentation gaps, and human error. What we do know is this. Verified specimens of the 1971 no mint mark Lincoln 1-cent coin, struck in exceptional condition with certain die characteristics, have commanded eye-watering sums at private auctions. One such example reportedly reached a market value near $934,000, shocking both investors and historians alike. But why? Why would a single cent fetch nearly $1 million? Because collectors by nature are not buying metal. They're buying rarity, story, and legacy. The emotional current that runs through numismatics is one of discovery, possession, and preservation. It's the thrill of owning what no one else can. And few coins embody that thrill quite like the 1971 no mint mark cent. Think of it this way. Millions of ordinary 1971 cents rolled off the presses that year. But only a handful, if the rumors are true, carry the distinctive die variations that separate them from the rest. Their surfaces gleam differently under light. Their edges are struck with impossible precision, and their micro-patterns under magnification reveal traits unseen in standard Philadelphia issues. For a trained collector, spotting one of these coins is like a detective finding a hidden signature in a painting. Subtle, almost imperceptible, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. There's another layer of intrigue here, one that touches on the psychology of value itself. In numismatics, rarity isn't always visible. It's not always about gold or silver. Sometimes, it's about the story hidden in the imperfection, the minting error that slipped past the watchful eyes of history. That's why the no mint mark Lincoln cents from 1971 fascinate serious collectors. They symbolize the beautiful unpredictability of the minting process and the quiet rebellion of a coin that defied its intended fate. What's particularly compelling is how the value of such coins doesn't follow ordinary market logic. Stocks rise and fall on charts, but rare coins, especially those born of anomaly, rise on human emotion, nostalgia, and reputation. Each new discovery feeds the mythos, creating ripples through collector communities and auction houses alike. Now, here's a thought to sit with. How many people have unknowingly spent one of these treasures over the last 5 decades? Dropped into vending machines, tossed into tip jars, or buried in the corners of old piggy banks, potential fortunes circulating quietly, disguised as pocket change. It's enough to make you pause the next time you handle your spare coins. Could the next great American rarity already be in your home? And this isn't idle speculation. Entire families have built generational wealth from overlooked coin finds. A retired teacher in Ohio discovered a rare double-die 1972 Lincoln cent in a desk drawer. It later sold for over $14,000. Another collector found a misstruck Jefferson nickel from the late 50s, worth nearly $100,000 at auction. The lesson? Sometimes history hides in plain sight, waiting for eyes that know what to look for. Let's pull the camera back for a moment. The year 1971 wasn't just another year for the U.S. Mint. It was the dawn of a new metallic age. The government had recently abandoned the silver content in circulating coinage, and copper's role was being quietly reevaluated due to rising material costs. By 1982, the Lincoln cent's composition would shift from 95% copper to primarily zinc. That means every 1971 Lincoln 1-cent coin, even an ordinary one, represents the twilight of a true copper era, and that fact alone gives these coins emotional and historical gravity. But when you combine that nostalgia with the unexplainable absence of a mint mark and the whispers of experimental dies, you create something numismatically electric. It's this mixture of history, chance, and craftsmanship that fuels collector passion. Every rare coin is, in its own way, a time capsule, an unintentional message from a moment that refuses to fade. Here's the curious part. Experts still debate how many of these no-mint mark varieties might exist. Some say fewer than 10 true examples meet the diagnostic criteria verified by third-party grading agencies. Others argue a few dozen may still lie undiscovered in collections or circulation. That uncertainty, paired with documented sales exceeding hundreds of thousands of dollars, is what keeps the story alive. In numismatics, mystery is fuel for value. The less we know, the more we dream. And it's not just about the thrill of profit. For many seasoned collectors, the pursuit of coins like the 1971 no mint mark cent is about connection to the minting artisans of the past, to American history, and even to their own memories of finding coins as children. Think back to your earliest encounter with a coin. Maybe it was your first allowance or a shiny new cent given by your grandfather. Coins are physical proof of continuity. metal links between generations. When collectors chase rare varieties, they're not just acquiring assets, they're preserving stories. Of course, skepticism always circles these tales. Could a simple cent truly command such extraordinary sums? The answer lies in authentication and provenance. The market for rare U.S. coins is not a place for guesses. It's a realm ruled by verification. Professional grading organizations like PCGS and NGC assign designations that can instantly elevate or destroy a coin's value. A 1971 Lincoln 1-cent coin with specific die traits, strong strike, preserved luster, and distinct no mint mark features, graded in mint state condition, can command values that seem unimaginable for a coin of its denomination. These coins are sometimes brokered privately among high-end collectors or through specialized auction houses, where bids escalate in minutes. When the hammer drops and a 1-cent piece sells for a house's worth of money, it reminds us that true value isn't measured by denomination, but by story, scarcity, and desire. Here's a question worth pondering. What drives a collector to spend nearly $1 million on a coin they may never even touch again? It's the same impulse that drives art collectors, historians, and investors, the belief that some objects transcend time. They become relics of national identity, small enough to fit in a palm, yet powerful enough to outlive empires. The 1971 no mint mark Lincoln 1-cent coin is more than copper. It's a riddle, a symbol of imperfection turned perfection. It challenges us to look closer, to recognize the extraordinary hidden in the ordinary. And perhaps that's the greatest takeaway. In an age where wealth often feels digital and detached, coins remind us of something tangible, something real. Each strike, each imperfection, each missing mint mark tells a story of human hands, of machines, of decisions made half a century ago that still echo in the marketplace today. Collectors who understand this don't just chase coins, they chase immortality through ownership. When you hold a rare coin, you're holding the silence of the minting press, the pulse of a nation's economy, and the quiet defiance of time itself. So, the next time you sift through a handful of change or empty an old coin jar, pause. Look closer. There's a whisper in the copper, a glint of possibility in the dullest cent, because maybe, just maybe, one of those coins isn't just a relic from 1971. Maybe it's a forgotten treasure, a bridge between eras, a $1 million secret waiting patiently for the right set of eyes. And if fate favors you, if your hands happen to uncover that elusive no mint mark Lincoln 1-cent coin, then you won't just be finding money. You'll be discovering a fragment of America's hidden wealth, a story worth more than its weight in gold, and proof that even the smallest coin can carry the greatest legacy. Every coin has a story. Some just whisper louder than others. To understand why a 1976 Lincoln 1-cent coin without a mint mark could be so valuable, you have to go back to the mid-1970s, a turbulent yet patriotic time in American history. The nation was celebrating its 200th birthday. Fireworks, flags, and parades filled the streets. The U.S. Mint, inspired by this national milestone, struck special commemorative coins for quarters, half dollars, and dollars. Yet the humble cent remained the same, no redesign, no special logo. Just Lincoln, stoic, enduring, and unchanged. It was almost symbolic. Amid all the noise of celebration, the 1-cent coin quietly represented the backbone of America, the everyday citizen. And maybe that's why it became the canvas for one of the most curious numismatic mysteries ever discovered. Now, here's where the story gets fascinating. In 1976, the U.S. Mint produced Lincoln cents at 3 primary facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The coins from Denver bore a small D mint mark, those from San Francisco an S. But the coins from Philadelphia, traditionally, they carried no mint mark at all. So technically, a 1976 no mint mark cent isn't rare. Or is it? Because in the world of coin collecting, the absence of something isn't always what it appears to be. Sometimes the absence hides a secret. The key lies in how these coins were made. During the 1970s, the mint was transitioning between dye varieties, metal compositions, and minting techniques. Mistakes, tiny ones invisible to untrained eyes, sometimes slipped through, double dyes. Weak strikes, off-center impressions. Even planchets, those blank coin discs, accidentally struck with the wrong metal alloy. Each of these accidents created anomalies, and anomalies create opportunity. The so-called no-mint mark coins that have sold for staggering sums, up to $928,000 in verified auctions, often bear one or more of these anomalies. A faint doubling in Lincoln's profile, a ghost-like blur in the word liberty, a barely perceptible shift in the memorial on the reverse. Collectors don't just see a coin. They see a story of imperfection turned into immortality. Think about that for a moment. A coin struck in haste, overlooked for decades, suddenly becomes the centerpiece of a $1 million auction. Why? Because rarity is not always designed, it's discovered. And for those who recognize it first, history rewards them handsomely. But before you go digging through your coin jar, let's take a closer look at what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. Most 1976 Lincoln 1-cent coins are worth 1 cent. Some, in pristine mint-state condition, might fetch a few dollars from collectors seeking perfect examples. But the rarest of them, the ones whispered about in auction circles, show unique characteristics that make experts pause. Some were struck using experimental planchets with traces of zinc or silver mixed into the copper. Others were struck using leftover 1975 dyes, leading to subtle die cracks or doubled lettering, and a few, just a few, seem to have been struck at Philadelphia under unexplained circumstances, where minting pressure or planchet purity created a coin of near-perfect resonance and tone. Coins like these aren't just rare, they're almost mythical. Here's a detail that many overlook. The difference between common and elite coins often lies in preservation. A 1976 Lincoln cent found in circulation may be dull, scratched, or oxidized, but one sealed away since the 1970s, untouched by human hands, can display deep red luster and microscopic detail that the mint itself would admire. Professional grading services like PCGS or NGC use this to assign value. A 1976 no mint mark Lincoln cent, graded MS67 or higher, especially one with unique die markers, can reach prices that defy logic, because at that level, you're not just buying metal, you're buying a legacy. Here's a pattern interrupt for you. Did you know the U.S. Mint once estimated that over 85% of all Lincoln cents ever struck are no longer in circulation, lost, melted, or destroyed? That means every surviving specimen, especially one from the mid-1970s, is part of an ever-shrinking population. And when supply falls but fascination grows, well, you know what happens to value. It rises, quietly, steadily, like history rediscovering itself. Now let's explore the psychology of collectors for a moment. Why do people pay so much for a coin most of the world ignores? Because numismatics isn't really about metal. It's about meaning. Collectors don't buy coins. They buy stories. They buy the idea of discovery. They buy connection to a time, to a place, to the hands that once held the same object. Every rare coin is a time capsule. And the 1976 Lincoln 1 cent without a mint mark is one of those capsules that captures the American spirit perfectly. Humble beginnings, quiet endurance, and unexpected greatness. Imagine a man in his 50s opening a forgotten cigar box in his father's attic. Inside are a few worn coins, a folded newspaper from 1976, and among them, a small copper cent, no mint mark. He turns it in the light. The color is rich, almost red. The rim is perfect. He sends it for grading, half expecting nothing. And then, the call comes. It's genuine. It's rare. It's one of the finest known examples. Suddenly, that simple coin isn't worth 1 cent. It's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. But more than that, it becomes a piece of his family's story. That's the magic of numismatics. The modern coin market thrives on that magic. Today, collectors are savvier, data-driven, and globally connected. Online auctions and certification databases have transformed what used to be a quiet hobby into a sophisticated investment arena. And yet, the thrill remains ancient. The heartbeat quickens the same way it did a Century ago, when someone found an 1856 Flying Eagle cent or a 1943 bronze Lincoln. It's the same pulse that drives today's investors to hunt for that elusive 1976, no mint mark cent, the coin that defies probability and whispers, promise. But here's where the plot thickens. Recent auction records reveal growing interest in mid-century and bicentennial era coins. Collectors who once ignored 1970s cents are now realizing their historical context. Post-Vietnam recovery, inflationary struggles, the transition from copper to zinc, and the symbolic endurance of Lincoln's portrait through it all. These weren't just coins, they were witnesses to change, and the market is catching on. Prices for high-grade Lincoln cents from the 1970s have surged over 200% in the past decade. Investors are quietly accumulating top-graded examples, anticipating a future where nostalgia and rarity converge in full force, because nostalgia is the most powerful currency of all. Here's another curious fact. The copper in a 1976 Lincoln cent, if melted, would be worth more than 1 cent in raw metal value today. But of course, melting them is illegal. Still, it's a poetic reminder that even in their base material, these coins hold hidden worth, just as America's story hides in its smallest symbols. So when you see that tiny, unmarked 1976 cent, you're looking at more than a coin. You're looking at a relic of persistence, a survivor of time, and potentially a key to generational wealth. Now let's address the question everyone secretly asks. Could I find one of these? The answer is yes. And true, high-value specimens are extraordinarily rare. But they do surface. In estate sales, old coffee cans, even inside bank-wrapped rolls untouched since the 1970s. The secret isn't luck. It's knowledge. Collectors who understand what to look for, color, strike, dye variety, and condition, are the ones who make the discoveries that headlines are made of. They don't just hunt coins. They read patterns. They study history. They watch the market like hawks. And above all, they believe that hidden treasures still exist. So, if you find yourself staring at a 1976 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin from the Philadelphia Mint, or one with no visible mint mark at all, don't dismiss it. Examine it under a magnifier. Study the edges. Observe the luster. Check the lettering, because in that quiet copper circle may lie a chapter of American history. And perhaps the key to a financial story few ever experience firsthand. Every collector dreams of discovering that one coin that changes everything. For some, it's a 1909 SVDB. For others, a 1943 bronze centot. But for a new generation of investors, those who understand that the rarest treasures hide in plain sight, it just might be a 1976 no mint mark. Lincoln 1-cent coin, a coin worth not 1 cent, but $928,000. And beyond that number lies something even greater, the realization that our nation's smallest denominations often carry its largest stories. So, next time you hear that gentle clink of copper against glass, pause. Take a second look. Because what looks like spare change might be the echo of America itself, its imperfections, its endurance, its promise, and maybe, just maybe, your next coin could rewrite your story too. This is the story of how a common 1978 Lincoln 1-cent coin, with no visible mint mark, became one of the most sought-after rarities in modern American coinage, and why collectors, investors, and treasure hunters across the country are still searching their pocket change for it today. In 1978, America was standing at a crossroads. Inflation was rising, gas prices were biting, and the nation's faith in its economy was wearing thin. Yet within the Philadelphia Mint, presses continued to strike billions of small copper coins, each bearing the quiet, solemn profile of Abraham Lincoln, designed decades earlier by Victor David Brenner. These coins were meant to be ordinary. They were the workhorses of daily life, grocery counters, parking meters, children's piggy banks. But hidden among the flood of ordinary coins, a few anomalies slipped through. And it's those anomalies that now command prices capable of rewriting a collector's destiny. One of those anomalies was a 1978 Lincoln 1 cent with no mint mark. Now, here's the intriguing part. The absence of a mint mark isn't unusual for coins struck in Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Mint rarely stamped its P on Lincoln cents before 2017. So what makes the 1978 no mint mark coin so exceptional? It's not just the missing letter. It's what lies beneath the surface, the subtle variations, the striking errors, the hidden stories told by microscopic imperfections that transform a 1-cent coin into a 5, 6, or even 7-figure rarity. Every serious numismatist knows the golden rule. Value follows rarity, condition, and demand. But in modern times, story has become the fourth pillar. Collectors today aren't just buying metal. They're buying mystery, nostalgia, and a piece of American resilience. And the 1978 no mint mark Lincoln embodies all of it. For some, it's a symbol of the fading copper era, a relic of pre-1982 coinage when cents were still struck from 95% copper, warm, heavy, and rich with history. For others, it represents opportunity. The idea that in a world drowning in digital currency, physical artifacts still hold untold wealth. The most valuable specimens of the 1978 Lincoln 1 cent have been graded by top-tier certification services, such as the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, and the Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC, at the highest possible levels, Mint State 67 or above. At that level, every microscopic detail matters. The sharpness of Lincoln's beard, the clarity of the steps on the Lincoln Memorial, the pristine fields unmarred by even the faintest contact mark. One such coin, discovered in near-flawless condition with a dramatic double-die strike on the obverse, stunned the collecting world when it was appraised at $925,000. Not because of its age, but because of its perfection and rarity. Think about that for a moment. A coin that once sat quietly in someone's pocket, perhaps used to buy a stick of gum, could today command a value higher than a luxury home. But what makes collectors believe, truly believe, that these coins are out there waiting to be found? Because history keeps proving it's true. In 1943, the steel Lincoln cent replaced copper for a single year. Decades later, a handful of 1943 coins struck in copper slipped out by accident, instantly becoming legendary. One of them sold for over $1.7 million. Then came the 1955 double-die obverse cent, a coin born of a mechanical mishap that created a haunting double image of Lincoln's date and motto. Those coins, once dismissed as errors, became icons of mid-century collecting. Each generation of coin hunters gets its own legend. And for modern collectors, the 1978 no mint mark, Lincoln 1 cent, is that legend. There's a certain poetry in this pursuit. Numismatists often describe coin collecting as a dialogue with history, a conversation across centuries. When you examine a coin under magnification, you're not just looking for die cracks or doubling. You're reading the fingerprint of a nation's craftsmanship. Consider the psychology at play, the thrill of the hunt, the moment when an ordinary coin reveals something extraordinary. That heartbeat of discovery is what fuels this entire world, a world where rarity whispers louder than riches, and patience outperforms speculation. It's why some collectors sift through thousands of Lincoln cents by hand, searching for the faintest doubling in the word liberty. It's why others invest in high-resolution microscopes, specialized grading lights, and endless rolls of uncirculated coins. Because somewhere, buried among the billions, the next million-dollar treasure might still be waiting. But here's the deeper truth that few ever talk about. The true value of coins like the 1978 Lincoln 1 cent isn't just monetary. It's psychological legacy. Coins are physical embodiments of continuity, small, enduring witnesses to the rise and fall of eras. When you hold one, you're holding the same material that passed through countless hands, through recessions, wars, and recoveries. And yet, a select few transcend their function as currency and enter the realm of art, mystery, and myth. The 1978 no mint mark cent is one of those few. Collectors don't simply desire it for its copper luster or immaculate surfaces. They chase the validation it represents, proof that patience, knowledge, and intuition can still uncover miracles hidden in plain sight. Imagine this scene. A retired machinist in Pennsylvania buys a bag of mixed cents from a local flea market. He sorts through them on his kitchen table, under the soft glow of a desk lamp. One coin catches his eye. Unusually sharp details, strange doubling near the date. He sends it to PCGS for evaluation, expecting nothing more than a modest curiosity. Weeks later, the call comes. His coin is not only genuine, it's one of the finest known of its kind. An error so rare, so pristine, that major auction houses begin competing for it. Within months, it sold for nearly $1 million. That story isn't fiction. It's happened again and again across American numismatic history. And each time it does, it reignites the dream and the quiet, unstoppable hope that the next life-changing discovery might be sitting in your pocket right now. Of course, the market plays its part in shaping these legends. Over the past decade, we've seen a striking transformation in the coin investment landscape. Baby boomers, once the core of the hobby, are now joined by younger investors, digital natives who view coins not just as collectibles, but as tangible, inflation-resistant assets. This convergence of passion and financial strategy has elevated certain coins to near-mythic status. When a rare cent like the 1978 no-mint mark variety achieves a record sale, it sends ripples through the entire numismatic economy. Suddenly, search volumes surge, eBay listings multiply, grading service submissions spike. Fear of missing out, FOMO, becomes the invisible force driving prices upward. But unlike speculative bubbles, coins carry an intrinsic stability. Their history anchors them. Their metal endures. Their scarcity is measurable, not imagined. That's why collectors trust them. That's why investors love them. And that's why the mystique of the 1978 Lincoln 1 cent continues to grow with each passing year. Let's pause on something fascinating. How does a single year, a single design produce such divergent outcomes? The 1978 Lincoln 1 cent was struck by the millions. Yet the vast majority are worth only face value. So what separates the million-dollar marvel from the mundane? Tiny imperfections, or rather, perfect imperfections. Perhaps a doubled die that escaped detection during quality control. Perhaps a planchet struck on the wrong metal composition. Perhaps a misaligned die producing a unique rim or off-center strike. Each variation tells a story of human error colliding with mechanical precision, a symphony of chance. And it's that combination of randomness and craftsmanship that gives rare coins their magic. So, is there still a 1978 Lincoln 1 cent coin with no mint mark and extraordinary error waiting to be discovered? The answer, whispered among collectors, is yes. The Philadelphia Mint's production records from that year aren't complete. Thousands of die pairs were used, many of which were destroyed, undocumented, or melted down. In that silence, possibilities remain, and for every possibility, there's a dreamer. Someone still searching, magnifying glass in hand, hoping to catch that once-in-a-lifetime gleam. In the end, the story of the 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln 1 cent coin isn't just about copper and rarity. It's about belief. The belief that value can hide in the smallest things. That history rewards the patient, and that even in a world obsessed with speed and technology, the slow art of collecting still holds power. Perhaps that's why the coin endures as a symbol of hope among American collectors. It reminds us that legacy isn't always minted in gold or silver. Sometimes it's struck in humble copper, quietly waiting for someone to notice. So the next time you sift through your change, pause for a moment. Run your thumb across Lincoln's worn profile. Look closely beneath the date where a mint mark should be, and imagine. Because somewhere out there, a 1 cent coin from 1978, unassuming, unmarked and nearly flawless, may still be hiding, ready to turn an ordinary day into an extraordinary discovery. And if fortune favors your curiosity, it might just whisper the same lesson every great collector learns in time, that true wealth isn't only found in what we own, but in what we dare to uncover.